You are now listening to the Select Gaming Podcast.
Dusty, do you like playing remakes of Final Fantasy games?
Not really, man. Just play the original.
Good news, because you can't play them anyway, because Squaresoft announced in the dead of night the Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Pixel Remaster collection. Do you have any clue as to what this all might be?
No. You briefly mentioned it, but I don't have any idea about it.
So for the good old Famicom and the Super Nintendo, and they took those versions of the games and they've redone all of the assets, and they did these assets in part for when the games are released on Steam and on mobile platforms. So right now you can download Final Fantasy 1 and 2, 3 and 4 on and I think actually up to 6 as well. On Steam and iOS and Android devices. And by all accounts, they're perfectly serviceable versions. But of course, the home for Final Fantasy is on home consoles. So Square is planning on making physical versions available for the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4. It's coming out this spring. Would you like to buy a copy?
I'm going to say no. And maybe you'll tell me, maybe you can tell me the price, and maybe I'll be happy that I don't want to buy one.
Well, that's good news on two fronts. Number one, because the pre-orders are no longer available, because you can only buy them on the SquareEnix store, and they were released at random times during the evening, during the middle of the night. So good job on from SquareEnix on that front. Very customer forward thinking company. However, can I interest you in you're a PlayStation boy. I know that. I see you talk about Pepsi Man every day of your life.
you see me playing Ape Escape when I'm on my PlayStation. What's he doing right now? And you see he's now playing Ape Escape, right?
Ape Escape was only intended, could only be achieved through the power of the PlayStation 4 Pro.
It's finally perfect on the PlayStation 4 Pro. They did it, guys.
Dusty, what would you say if I said to you, you got some, as a Final Fantasy fan, if you wanted to buy the limited 35th anniversary edition of this remaster, what would you say to some stickers? Would you like some stickers?
I'm okay with that. I like stickers. I put them on my notebooks and sometimes my computer if they're nice.
Okay, so imagine stickers, but imagine them in 3 dimensions. That's right. You get pixel figurines, a lenticular sleeve, a two vinyl disc set, because and now these are picture discs, mind you. So when you don't get up to change your vinyl because you're too lazy, you don't look at them, but if you did, you could see Final Fantasy characters.
I'm actually looking at I think the same picture you're looking at now. So continue. This is nice. I like the description.
Yeah. Yes, and then of course you get a 128-page hardcover art book, which is interesting. And let me tell you something. That's a lot of stuff. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. You got your figurines, you got your lenticular sleeve, which is not just a regular sleeve. You got your discs and you got your book. You're going to need a box to put that in. Now, back in my day, they used to give you the box for free. So imagine buying a box of some Kellogg cereal, and they're like, with a limited edition box. Yes. So anyhow, all of these things, Dusty, would you say that is worth $259.99 American?
No, man. No. At best, 99 USD.
It is.
It's just paper and glue. It's paper and glue, man.
But imagine how nice this is going to look on your shelf when you never play these games.
So I'm looking here. It's part 1 to 6.
Yeah. So all of the Famicom through Super Nintendo versions redone.
Yeah, you know what? So the thing is, I'm almost certain that you can buy more than half of these games right now alone on the Nintendo store and the Sony on the PlayStation store right now. Like I've seen a couple up there.
Yes, so you can buy these digital versions, but these are not Squaresoft in all their infinite Japaneseness has a notice, which is to say that they have previously remastered these versions, which is great, and they will be adding the old version to the names when they're going to be on the store. So if you had happened to have bought any of these games previously, you can still access those versions on Steam, for instance, if you bought them. But they're going to be listed as the old versions. Here's my thought about this. The people who are going to want to buy the physical editions of these games are they are lunatics.
Well, it's going to be shelf collectors who is going to get this particular set, though, right?
Right, but even regardless of the terribly overpriced anniversary edition, we are those lunatics. To be clear, we are lunatics. So we want the physical edition, right? It is a terrible, miserable, awful idea for a company like SquareEnix to say, we're going to take these versions and we're going to release them physically, but we're going to make them as impossible for you to access as humanly possible. This is not, you can't sell something as a love letter to fans and simultaneously make them the least accessible versions possible. I mean, yes, you could always download them, right? And we are big proponents of playing original versions and playing them on Raspberry Pi or original consoles, what have you. So it's not as if neither of us can access these games. It just seems a little odd to me that Square would take this particular tactic when releasing a version that seems perfectly catered for fans.
This is solely as a collectible. This is 100% as solely like it's to collect, because if they really wanted people to enjoy this collection, I hope that there's an option for just the game, for just 1 through 6, and not all of this stuff, because it's like, in all honesty, I would buy it. I would buy it. I would buy this solely for the stability to be able to play this on a PlayStation 4 or 5.
Yes.
And it's like, if I want to walk away and I have to do something, I can press the home button, right? I can, if they do something where they do save states and all that stuff, I want the dependability of like an actual system and not an emulation station, right? So like, sure. I would buy this for $39.99.
Well, you're out of luck, right? Because there is a regular version. There is a standard edition. You can't pre-order it. It's no longer available. And in any case, it's not $39.99. It's $75.
Nah, man, not $75 for 8-bit and what, 16-bit?
Yeah, but actually, for me, it's not even a question of, because if you think about it, if you think of it in a different way, it's like, actually, there's a lot of work that goes into remastering this art, and if they're actually legitimately rebuilding it, re-illustrating everything by hand, that's a lot of work. And knowing Square, they've probably lost the source code, so at various stages, right? So I don't know what they're basing these remasters on. They're certainly talking about them as they're entirely brand new. And then if you do the sort of calculation, like actually 75 American plus, state and federal taxes or whatever you're paying. If you're going to play through all of these games, the value for money might actually be there. I just don't think that in a world where you have such incredible tools available to you to play these games, this feels like it's verging on the territory of just a little grimy, like more than a little grimy.
It's because it's easy for them. It's like maybe they do have the source code for all this stuff. It's really like it's kilobytes, it's megabytes of memory that they can throw on cheaply, quickly. This is a it's a cash grab. People are gonna buy it. I mean, dude. I mean, here's the thing. If this was me in grade 8, I'd buy I would buy this. I would 100% buy this. I am not that Final Fantasy fan anymore because I've played it all and I loved it when I played it, and this is not for me anymore. And this is for collectors. This isn't about the media. This is about just being able to own it. And it's like, honestly, man, if I got this, hypothetically, I probably would listen to the vinyl. The vinyl would be the thing that I would utilize the most, because I'd be like, this is awesome that I get to listen to this music in a different way through on vinyl. Like I sort of love that, but this ain't for me, man. And that's another thing that Square's done where I'm like, this ain't for me. This feels like it's for somebody else, right?
I feel like the base version is for me, right? But but the thing that I keep on thinking about is that there's like there was the recent Atari collection that came out. I forgot what the exact title is. Atari 40.
The 50th anniversary.
Right.
Yeah, that was well done. I think I'll pick that up eventually one day. But.
Yeah, so do I. So and you more so than, or me more so than you. Like I have very little interest in Atari games except for the few that I grew up on, right? Because I mean, you play television stuff still, you buy that stuff, you love that stuff, right? But if they took a similar approach to Final Fantasy 1 through 6 and they called it like here's I'm a lunatic. I'm a self-professed lunatic when it comes to this stuff. So if they had a series called the Final Fantasy Archive or something like that, right? And they wanted to charge me $75, and for each Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6. But for Final Fantasy 1, you get the North American release, you get the Japanese release, you get the GBA remaster, you get the PSP remaster, you get the mobile version, and you get this Pixel Remaster. Then you can charge me $75 for that. Add on behind the scenes videos. Get get the guys from No Clip or Drew Scanlon who works for who worked on the Atari 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
Hell, do 6 of these. Yeah. And you get $75 each from me.
Well, I think that's probably what the compilation is missing. It's missing this sort of celebration of this franchise. As much as the Final Fantasy franchise is loved, I don't think it's ever been celebrated in a good way where it sort of celebrates it encapsulates the history of it. It's like the music, the imagery. I had my Vampire Hunter D book with Amano, right, who does all the sort of the character designs for a lot of the games before they get put into graphics and whatnot. Like, there's just nothing interesting about this. Like, imagine if this was a compilation where it would go so far as to be like, in the same way that people utilize what do they call that stuff when like you have a game but then you get to change the graphics, mods. Oh
yeah, well it's like
is that what the kids call them? They call them mods, right?
Well, it's like the new skin packs.
Yeah,
and stuff like
the skin
that.
Packs. Imagine if it was
like how the Master Chief Collection had it. When you push the back button, it switches between the original Halo and the modern graphics.
Yeah, so like even a game as basic as like Minecraft, it's got different skins and stuff. Like, imagine if there was. I don't like if it went so far as to be like, here's the Amano skin, where you similar, like I know you were playing the Babylon's Fall stuff, and you're like, yo, it's so, but it sort of looks like a watercolor painting and all that stuff. Like, if you truly wanted to celebrate this franchise, you would let people kind of move through it in a different way, where the people who have played these games, they can experience it in a different way, where it's like, I want to use the Amano skin, or hell, man, like I know this would take a lot of work, but like you could use like the PS1 skin and everything is all like jaggy, pixels and stuff. Right. It's like, they're not doing that, dude. And it's just like, it's a cash grab. It's a very lazy thing, because at the end of the day, what version are we getting here? Are we getting any of the PS1 versions that had the CG cutscenes that they incorporated in the PS1 versions? Because that was a big deal.
Seems very unlikely.
They're probably not. Like those are gone. Those are going to be forgotten to time.
So the way they're describing it is universally updated 2D pixel graphics, including the iconic Final Fantasy characters created by Kazuko Shibuya, the original artist and current collaborator. So what it sounds like is they're going to take the pixel art and they're going to make sure it's pixel perfect, and they are going to create new sprites for them, and they're going to plug it into their modern engine for processing this or rerunning the code, and then that's pretty much it. My concern is that number one, Square isn't doing enough of that sort of, and maybe it's because they're like historically been sort of an insular developer. Like only recently have there been sort of documentaries that, you know, even considered like even had where they've even opened up into some of their failures, like Final Fantasy 14, the 1.0 version before it was remade. But the thing that concerns me here is that Square doesn't know how to celebrate its own history. So now we're having this remaster. At the same time, they're talking about, and this is straight from the box, like the points. It's like, quote, improved gameplay, including modernized UI, auto battle options, and more. Like that sends shivers down my spine because listen, you shouldn't be playing Final Fantasy 1 for improved gameplay. Right? And never mind the fact that by and large, if you held the X button on like the Final Fantasy what was it, 5 and 6 for the PS1, you pretty much just rip through everything anyway. So I who is this for? It's for psychos. It's for lunatics. We're going to buy it and not play them. And then I'm going to go back to my PSP version. And that's it.
Yeah, it's for shelf collectors. And then maybe it's for, like, let's say somebody who owned an N64. Well, not even, dude, because these are all like stuff that they could have played on an NES and a Super Nintendo. Like, I don't know. It's just like, one of the things about doing the emulation stuff is that it just showed me how easy it is to just play these games without having to like depend on these big companies to like give me crumbs to lick off the floor when they you know, they flick it from their big table that they're eating off of. It's like, I don't care anymore. And it's just like, it's a good question. I mean, I don't know who this stuff's for anymore. I think it is for the shelf collectors, because if it wasn't, then they wouldn't have put all this additional stuff in it. It would just be like, listen, all our focus is going to be on celebrating the history and doing something similar to what the Atari 50th anniversary thing did, where it's like, you're going to put this disc in, and then when you click on Final Fantasy 1, it's going to be different versions. It's going to have documentaries. It's going to have the music that, like, I don't know, the soundtracks, you can push it to your smartphone or your email and download the albums and stuff. And it's like, at best, the thing that would be the thing that's cool is like the game and like having it on vinyl with a digital download code to put onto your phone afterwards. Like, because it's always been about the music. So I'm okay with that, because like back in the day when you didn't have voiceover and it was just text, the music really pushed the emotions in those games. So that's the only thing that I'm okay with in that collection is the music.
I think that I really genuinely hope that this Atari 50th anniversary thing changes. I think Square might be a lost cause, if we're going to be honest about it. But
with this compilation, yes,
I think they might be too far down this road now to go back. But I think the Atari 50th anniversary, the sort of positive reviews that press have given it, the release of $40 includes all the supplemental stuff. It sort of recognizes quite correctly that actually these games are not like amazing in today's modern context, and you need all of this other stuff to sort of to justify why someone would be interested in that. And the thing is, Square actually knows this, because they've released Tactics Ogre 3 times. Once for the PS1, Once for the PSP, Let Us Cling Together, and now they've released the reborn version for the PS4, PS5, and Switch. And so they know that some of their older games for modern audiences don't hold up. The thing is that this seems like perfectly aimed at me, someone who says that they're slowly going to want to work their way through the Final Fantasy catalog again. But if I can't buy it physically, which is the only way I'm going to be willing to buy it, well then look, there are other ways that are arguably way better ways of playing these games, and maybe you'll see a long play of them at some point when I play them on a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, and I think as of right now, that's probably it'll be exactly the same because you'll be able to play it at 1080p, right? You'll be, if you do a long play and all that stuff, it'll still be high quality. But I don't know. It's interesting. It just feels like little by little, and I think we talked about this in a Hatrix where I was just like, slowly the video game industry is becoming like the film industry in a way where it's like the old generation that existed at these specific companies, they have since long they've left, right? Like they're not there anymore. And what you have is you either get people who, you know, they're in the executive positions where they're not creatives and they're just like, what worked before? Just put the remakes out, just put a compilation out, and they do that. Or if there's younger people who are coming in who don't really know what to do and they don't want to take any risks, they're just like, you know what, just put a remake out. And it's like, at a certain point, even your biggest fanboys, they're going to figure you out. Because at one point, I was a fanboy for the Final Fantasy stuff, and it's like, you know, I'm getting older, and I'm like, I've figured you guys out. Like, I had, you know, Final Fantasy compilations on the PlayStation already. Like, this ain't for me. So I don't know. And I think a lot of like this Final Fantasy stuff, it's going to get lost to the older generation. It's not going to appeal to them as much because they've moved on to other things. So they need to be careful.
Yeah, I don't know who this is for anymore, and I don't know who's steering steering the ship there. But if it's not, if it's already lost, psychopaths like us.
So to maybe we'll end on here. But what is the biggest psychopath purchase that you've made as of late, where you're like, I really don't need this, but it's nice to have, and you bought it? I'll tell you, like, you go first, and then I'll tell you mine.
Probably my biggest unnecessary purchase, which probably should be the name of our podcast, is
unnecessary purchases.
Is having bought potentially a PlayStation 5. That might be the
but no, that's a very intelligent purchase.
No. I'm glad I jumped in on the PlayStation 5. It's the best way for me to play Ape Escape. I probably the thing is actually I think that it's under, I think PlayStation 3, I think modern consoles of the sort of modern era gaming, I think those games are really difficult to emulate still. PS3 is getting better, Xbox is getting better, but actually I think that playing those games on the original hardware, there's still something to it. In a way that I think hasn't, I think the ability to emulate stuff really cheaply hasn't gone there yet. So probably the most unnecessary purchase, but one that I will defend to the death is me spending multiple $100s on Otogi 1 and 2 for the original Xbox. Completely unnecessary purchases. Played those games to death when they were brand new. Somehow didn't retain them, but I had to have them back.
How do you spell that? Otogio?
Otogi. Original Xbox exclusives.
Yeah.
When Microsoft was fighting as best as they possibly could to stay relevant in the Japanese market.
Oh, dude, yes, I remember this game cover.
Wonderful games, highly recommend them.
Well, you know what? It's okay because this game's probably going to be worth $1,000 in 2 days.
Yeah,
because that's how these games go. but that's good. I'm glad you got it. For me, the most psychopath purchase I've made, and probably the last for a little bit because I've made a lot of unnecessary purchases. And I think this was actually, I think, after Dairy Queen meetup.
Of course.
I bought the Mega Man Legends 2 on vinyl.
All right.
And yeah, actually, I'm not going to go looking for it now, but it's pretty cool, man. And it's funny because I was like, I'm not getting Mega Man Legends the first. I'm going straight for number 2 like a pure psychopath.
Yeah.
Cuz that's how I roll. But yeah, man. I mean, like, just stuff like that, you know, you see it, you buy it cuz you think it's never, you know, it's going to be gone soon, so I just did it. So
I'd just like to say one last thing.
Of course.
Now, instead of giving me the opportunity to play Final Fantasy 1 for the 30th time, what I would like to know is Parasite Eve, Brave Fencer Musashi, Saga Frontier, Vagrant Story, Driving Emotion Type S, little unknown Bushido Blade. Tobal number 1.
Okay, so you're onto something. If they're smart, they will do the Squaresoft PlayStation collection on a sexy Blu-ray, okay? And they will put all these games on there. Because even to this day, for me to emulate Brave Fencer Musashi, I can't, man. I've looked.
Yeah, it's not working for you.
It's not working on the Raspberry Pi 4, maybe on something else. But like that would be a smart thing. And it's like, if you wanted to Atari 50 the hell out of this compilation, you start on a timeline the minute that Squaresoft kind of broke their sort of relationship with Nintendo and how they went in and they went into the unknown with Sony, and they started to build this company in a new way. Hell, throw Tobal number 1 on there.
Yep. Give Tobal number 2 a North American release.
Yes. Because it never came here. So it's like, do it right, because it's like, you know, the nostalgia of like this 8-bit and 16-bit stuff, you're going to get these fanboys gushing over it. But really, there's a great opportunity in the history of Sony and Squaresoft to really kind of do something special, because that was an awesome time. I think that was their golden age, and they're kind of like, that was it. I mean, after in the PlayStation 2 era, you know, they did slow down significantly. And I think like the only new thing that they did that had any sort of impact was maybe the Kingdom Hearts stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, you know, it's, if you go on price charting as of this recording, a copy of Einhander complete in box will cost you $150. So Square Enix is leaving that money on the table. If they, I don't know what licensing would work on that, but if they release the best of the PlayStation 1 collection, literally just emulation package with some behind the scenes and some interviews, $75. Let's go.
Sony would do it. It's like a lot of that stuff, like the Final Fantasy stuff was, Sony was a publisher, right? Like, if you look on every Final Fantasy game for the PlayStation, it's got the little yellow Sony Computer Entertainment diamond.
Yeah.
And that's because Sony had a hand in helping Squaresoft get that even more realized in their process, right? So it's like they're kind of sitting on a bit of a gold mine, and it's like, I think they're looking in the wrong places when it comes to these compilations they're releasing. And people who didn't own a PS1, people who had, you know, an N64 back in the day, this would be a good opportunity for them. I think it should be on everything. I don't think it should be exclusive shit. I think it's like, it should be for everybody to enjoy. So, I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, man.
We can only wish about future unnecessary purchases.
Yes, that is one that I would definitely make if they were smart. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the you know, future SquareEnix, Squaresoft compilations.
Thank you for tuning into the Select Gaming Podcast. Like, share, and subscribe. We create videos for the Select Gaming that are guided by our personal interests, and your support makes that possible.